Yeah, dude, you've been working hard on this new app, and it's so pretty. It's so cute.
I like cute.
Yeah,
I'll go with cute.
I'm a firm believer in cute is not a diminutive term. It's I love using the word cute because I think things are cute, and I think that's great. Like I don't know. Some people take offense to the word cute, and I mean no offense.
No, I think I have been. Have I'm sure I have in my time been described as cute. Hey, you're cute. Not like that. I don't think anyone's ever. Hey, you're cute. Oh my god, you're so cute. I don't think I've experienced that, but yeah, I'm sure. And I've been like, I don't know if I don't mind the things I create being cute. If it's created with cute intention.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, sometimes like I don't know, it feels like you could put in weeks of work to something, and people are like, it's cute. Fuck. Oh, okay. But no, I took no offense from it.
Well, Narrow is that's really neat, dude. Like,
thank you.
I loved the I was surprised and delighted with the live transcriptions on the webpage as it's playing, and just a cute little message. Mark has recorded some audio for you, or whatever you say, and yeah, just good stuff. I'm excited to see what you do with it, and
thank you,
and where it goes.
Yeah, it's been taking up. I mean, I'm bad at business. Because
that's what we're here for.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. Because it's just like I'm just having fun over here, like making it, and I don't know if you're sort of if this is something you get cognizant of, but this week has been, and I've been very aware that it's kind of been a really nice cadence, like structure. So I'm doing 16-hour fasting now.
Hey, dude! Monday. Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you.
You said you started in the past tense.
Yes,
you're already doing that.
It.
Awesome.
Yes.
And how's that feeling for you so far?
Technically 4 days in, because I started on Monday, which meant I wasn't fasting. Yeah, that's right. Yes. So, Monday night is when I began.
Yeah.
It's you know what, the timing that I've worked out is all right. I get super hungry in the morning.
Oh, interesting.
But I would rather do it that way than in the evening. Because I'm always doing something in the morning. Like, I'm always occupied, so there's always something to do.
There you go.
So, I sort of should finish eating. I should be sort of eating my fasting window opens at like 7 p.m. And then closes at 11 when I have a giant smoothie of half an avocado, a bunch of summer berries, some spinach, a bit of peanut butter, some oat milk, and flax seeds. And I think that's basically it. And then I have my, big bean lunch.
Yeah.
My big bean salad with chicken and avocado again. Then I had my meal prep this week was chicken and potatoes, and it's been nice. And so, that sort of closes at about 7. I sit down, I maybe watch an episode of New Amsterdam, which I'm enjoying at the moment because it's just it's so earnest and we may have talked about it before, but like it's just so unrealistic and lovely and wonderful, and everybody's doing their best and everybody's a good guy, and it's great.
Nice.
It's exactly what was needed. And I'll finish that episode, then I'll come back here and I'll work on Narrow. And at 9 o'clock, I will do the dishes, or I'll feed the cats, might come back, work a little bit more. And then like 10 o'clock, I'll be going to bed and listening to. So I started a show called Dimension 20, which is a web series. It's on Dropout, the college streaming service. because I was watching some other stuff on that and really, really enjoying it. I basically bought, because it's relatively inexpensive, it's all right. And I bought it because there were a couple of shows that I really wanted to watch. And then I just thought, everybody's talking about Dimension 20, and Brendan Lee Mulligan seems like a cool guy who runs it. And I've just been mainlining that. And they're long episodes, they're like an hour and a half. And that's been great. And so like my week has had like this lovely cadence to it. It's funny. And like at the moment I'm also dealing with, I feel bad, but like this is the only way I can think to do it at the moment. And no one seems to be too distressed, but I'm having to shut the cats away. I'm having to shut them in the living room because Roscoe is going out of his mind. Bless him. I think it's just when I'm here. He seems, that's why like the door's closed. He's not pawing at the door or anything like that. He's not like meowing or seeming to be upset or anything like that. So I feel like because if that was the case, then I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
But I think it's because I'm here. He's going, you should be feeding me, my dude, because I'm hungry. Yeah, it's like, we're all doing it, mate.
Hungry.
We're all on this. I'm sorry, dude. You're eating more than your sister because I'm really trying to slim her down, but I also have to keep an eye on you as well.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think while I'm here, he won't stop. He just won't stop meowing. And it's just, bless him. So there's that, but like even that, because I know like if I shut the door, I'm listening out. I haven't, like I said, I haven't heard any because that door's very like you don't have to push it much for it to make a bit of a thumping noise. So even if he just like butts his head up against it, I'll hear it. And so he seems fine. It's not ideal, but it's the thing, isn't it? It's like it's the horrible thing about if you want your animal to eat less, like. They're going to be upset and you have to just deal with that. It's not like they have the understanding of my belly's hungry. I'm hungry. Like they're going through the same thing we are. Yeah. But we have the higher thinking to go, yes, well, there's this longer term thing. And for him, it's just like, no, I need
hungry now.
Doing my best.
Hungry meow.
Doing my best. Yeah. But
that's great, dude.
Good. It's good. Good things.
And how's it feeling? How's it like, it's only a couple days in, but
feeling like I feel great just in terms of like I don't think that's necessarily like the effect of anything, but
of
like
course.
I definitely feel like this isn't proving a hardship because I've got it the right way around. I think if I were doing it the other way where I was spending my evening, like I would be like Roscoe, I'd just be pulling at the door like
just idly being around, not occupied with something and being hungry, that's impossible. That's for sure. But keeping busy in the morning while you're feeling a little bit hungry, that's the way to do it for sure. I feel exactly. Like I luck out because my mornings I'm not hungry at all in the morning, and so that makes it really easy for me. Evenings are super hard because I have my intention of my cutoff is 6 p.m. Usually goes until about 7. Sometimes I'll have like nut butter or something. And, I want to like, I've had a hard day at work or whatever, physical labor. And I just want to like sit and relax and like watch TV or whatever. And it's so hard to not want to snack and eat at that point. But
so it's seems okay. I had a weird night last night where I was just like, didn't sleep. It was one of those where I like sometimes it's like, oh, I'm not going to be sleeping. Like I'm weirdly high energy or whatever. So I ended up just watching like another half episode of Dimension 20, and then that got me off, and I was okay. But it was sometimes you've got to know that your energy levels are probably going to be a bit different because also for sure. With this, I'm also adjusting my macros. So I'm like 50, no, I'm not 50% fat, but I might be actually. I think I'm something like 20% carbs, 30% protein, and 50% fat. So yeah, all the avocados.
I'm no nutritionist, but I would swap the fat and protein. Like so Americans are super like focused on protein. I get that, but like protein is literally the building block of everything in your body. And
yes.
So,
and for building muscle and all that kind of stuff.
Not just muscle, everything.
No. The wisdom, and I'm getting this from someone who, like you, is into the same thing to the same degree. So like I'm playing both of you off against each other with equal weight, to be honest.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. But his take is for fat loss, for weight loss, a higher fat diet is better.
Interesting.
And then with the autophagy as well. That is the thinking behind it.
Fair. That's interesting. Well, I'm very curious to see how it goes.
We shall see.
Yeah, higher fat because the protein will slow down autophagy. So when you're so you just mentioned your smoothie that had fat but no protein in it. Oh no, it has protein. It has peanut butter.
It has it's only a little bit of protein. Most of my protein is coming from lunch and dinner.
Yeah, no, that's great.
So cool. So that's my week. How's your week been, sir?
Honestly, not super eventful week. But I have had I've had some thoughts, and I don't have that. It's more of that, like, not touchy ground, but it's like vulnerability area, and
listener, I'm cracking my knuckles.
We've
sorry if that was triggering.
No, that was great for me. My body just loves to pop and crack. Like I move and it cracks like so much. So, and I used to bug the hell out of my mom, but I'm like, I need to do it. I don't know what. I need the release.
I've got bits that need releasing. Yeah.
So we've had a really great episode about roller coasters. We've talked about different things. You sent me a message on WhatsApp about kind of getting your shit rocked with with something a person said, and I kind of wanted to dive into that kind of stuff about what men need to do in order to court women, more or less. Like how to be good enough, which is a shitty way of saying it, but like it's kind of just to get to the point.
Yeah. Why don't I, for context, I will pull up the message that I sent you, because I think it's probably the best description of this, but it came from an episode of Dimension 20 that I was watching.
Oh, and okay.
It was one of the players on the show. And here we go, I think. Yes. All right. So the message reads, So I just got my whole shit rocked watching a comedy D&D session, and there's a conversation between an AV Club nerd PNC, okay, there's a lot to unpack there, and the female player he fancies. So AV Club being very much an American thing we don't have here, but yeah, like proper, just a nerd.
Yeah.
Non-player character. So this is someone that the host of the show is playing. He's pretending to be this big old nerd, and one of the players of this Dungeons and Dragons game is having a conversation with him. And this guy keeps flirting and doing keeps flirting and being a bit sleazy, and she eventually says, I feel like you think you have a lot to offer, but you don't. Like, what are you doing to work on yourself to make yourself more interesting and attractive? Like, are you just thinking that women should change themselves and lower their standards in order to date you, unquote? That's almost verbatim, I think. And my last line was, I mean, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
So this was really interesting to me. And then I open the floor, but I want to make sure all the context is here.
Yeah,
but like, sure. So this guy is like, he's trying to put the moves on this girl, and he's just, he's like enchanté and like really just trying to come up with all these sleazy, skeezy lines and stuff, and she's just absolutely not having any of it. And he's kind of skeeved out by him and whatever. And it was just a really interesting moment that in my 41 years, and, it's again in relation with the conversations we've been having. And I was, to a degree, kind of, as I was editing that episode about roller coasters, I was kind of like cognizant of this as I was editing it. But there is a real thing here about, and you said like what men need to do to court women, but like I don't necessarily know if this is gendered. It is more about like that question: what are you doing to work on yourself to make yourself more interesting and attractive? That what a power question!
Yeah.
Because so many of us can, and I'm not, when I say many of us, I don't necessarily, I'm not pointing to anyone, but I think this is where the incel thing, I think, really takes its root, is that there is an idea that somehow men are entitled to not necessarily date any women they want, but just entitled to date. Like they are automatically, and this comes in conjunction with the sense of being enough as a person for yourself. Like we have to find a level at which we can accept ourselves and be enough for ourselves. That is not the same as being enough and being acceptable to someone else, or being interesting and attractive. However you read attractive doesn't really matter, but being interesting and attractive to someone else, rather than just expecting that you should be or are by default. I don't necessarily know that that's how I feel, that I have done that, but I know I haven't asked the question, and that is interesting. I can look at my faults and I can look at my various things, and some of them I can mitigate, or some of them I can excuse, and some of them they just are. But what am I doing to make myself more interesting and attractive?
Yeah, and not just like physically attractive, but in all the different ways. Yeah, it's a hard question. It's like, I mean, it's also a beautiful question, because you can get yourself a roadmap, you can get yourself a task list, but it's also hard because attachment, attachment leads to suffering. But I was like, you're attached to your way of life, you're attached to how you think of yourself, and all those things, and being faced with the fact that, the way I keep myself, the things that I do right now are not enough. I mean, to put it bluntly, but like aren't going to get me the desired outcome that I'm wanting. Yeah. So I need to change, and that's fascinating, and it's rough, it's hard, but it can also be really easy down the road. Like now I'm kind of addicted to the change. I'm like, what's next? Where can I improve next? Like that,
optimize.
Yeah. It feels good, but at the beginning it's really hard. Like I remember my ex-wife really had to kind of wake me up to that. Like I didn't really think about it. And like I was like cognizant of other people, and I mean, I kind of thought about other people more than myself, and that was a little bit of my problem. Is I kind of didn't take care of myself enough, and looked out for other people too much and cared about their feelings too much. But then also, I had kind of a limited view of how to take care of other people, because I had a limited view of how to take care of myself. And the golden rule is great, treat others how you want to be treated. The platinum rule is even better, treat others how they want to be treated. And I throughout my life I've always tried to find that middle ground. Not to say there should be a middle ground to everything, but like
it's an and rather than an or. You know, it's treat yourself and treat others.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't really have any like trajectory here. I just kind of like so there was the prospect of meeting somebody at at a party in the future that may or may not happen, but it sparked an idea for me about you, and like kind of like, well, it's you seem you seem inspired. What do you want to do about it? And if you like, I don't have answers, but I do have tools. I have like things that have worked for me and would love to share with you and have, if you try if it resonates. And also I just, I want to observe and see the process and, support.
It's got to start from within.
Oh, for sure.
And it's something I've never really, because I think I get so far into a certain level of thinking about, getting in shape or whatever. Yeah. And then I hit, at some point, I'm like, yeah, well, what's the point? Because I have this story. So there's this, unhelpful thinking pattern. There's this story about, well, it doesn't matter because I'm not enough anyway. So even if I do this stuff, what would be the point? Because I'm not doing it for me. I'm doing it for them. Whereas, to the best of my knowledge, what I'm doing now, I'm doing for me.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking now about your song, about looking yourself in the mirror.
Oh, yeah. Dogs in a Tree. Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, that's the silly name of it, yeah. Because I play these chords that are really close together. And if dogs were in a tree, they would probably huddle all close together because they'd be just kind of towards the center. They wouldn't be out on the limbs. That was the reason of the name. So
I love it.
Yeah. Dogs in a Tree.
Yeah, I am. I am.
I fell in love with myself.
Exactly. And the moment, and whatever gets you there, whether it's 3 protein shakes a day or whatever, like whatever it takes to get you to a point where you can look at yourself in the mirror. And again, I'm using that as a jokey line because I'm not discounting things like body dysmorphia. I'm saying if you can look at yourself in the mirror and there be objectively nothing, confusing myself with all the caveats, but like being able to look at yourself in the mirror and to go like, I love the look of this. I love this. Like not just the look, but I accept and I'm happy with all of this. Yeah. And I think you can do that at whatever shape you are. Yes. It's about where you want to be. And yeah, it would be amazing to walk around the flat without my shirt on, and look up to the full length mirror and sort of go, all right, bit of work to do still, but yeah, better than you have been.
I like how your goal is still edging.
Oh yeah.
You're beautiful, Mark. You walk up to the mirror and you say, "I'm beautiful."
I want to walk up to the mirror and go, dude, that's sexy, man.
There you go. That's the goal.
There you go. That's the goal. But it has to come from wanting to do that for yourself.
Right. But even the goal of, wanting to get into a theme park is, that's something that you want. That is still for you in the end.
This is where it gets interesting, and this is where we get into the sticky stuff. I think because in my head I have a story of I can look past the physicality of a person, then somehow I am expecting the other way around, and that is in and of itself, that is what the sort of the story is. And so in my head, like I play this out sometimes and I think about, wow, what if I were thin? Let's just, what if I were thin? And, or at least what I'm aiming for is dad bod. I'm not aiming for thin. I'm just aiming for dad bod. Yeah. And suddenly I became more attractive. Like, okay, cool, fine. Something in my brain goes, and it's like, again, it comes back to this question of like, this icky thing of a sense of entitlement of like, well, people should have loved me for, yeah, but that's not like, it's not a question of whether someone loved you. It's a question of, whether you were putting out, like, I get this stuff when it comes to brands, and I have a real high sense of, like, I would argue, very good taste, very good visual taste when it comes to brands. I know what's good. I know what I don't think is good. I understand all of that stuff, and it's this big and simple. Like, I don't trust a brand if that brand looks slapdash.
Yeah.
Or they've made the wrong decision. They've made not just the wrong color choice, but like the typeface is wrong, and their use of space is all messed up, and it's all that kind of stuff. For me, I'm like, no, I don't. They're not aligned. Mm-hmm. And the more I can think about it and remember that I judge brands that way, and I judge people that way. The difference is perhaps because it feels more incumbent on me to ride a roller coaster to ride someone's roller coaster, mm-hmm. that I maybe look further through that stuff because it's a buyer's market. Sure. I'm being confusing, but
I'm wondering how much of, like you've said a couple times that these are the stories that you're telling yourself, and it's great that you're aware of that part, because it appears that you feel like the look of it feels like you think how you look matters as much to the other person looking at you as you look to yourself. Not as much as the how attractive they are to you, but how attractive you are to you. And it appears that you don't find yourself attractive enough to date yourself. And so you can't understand why somebody else would want to date you.
Yeah, I think that's hard because I'm judging it aesthetically, and I'm not my type. Mm-hmm. I know, like, if we're talking about men, I tend to, weirdly enough, women who are slightly more my shape are my type, mm-hmm. but men mm-hmm. who are more your shape are my type. So sure. There's been so there's one dude that I worked with that I could pretty accurately say I fancied. Uh-huh. Purely from, aesthetically, yeah. I was like, what he's absolutely. Which is, entirely different from the shapely vibe that I tend to go with a lady. So I don't know if I'm thinking about how attractive. I think what I'm thinking about is, I think on some level, you're right. On some level, I am not attractive to objectively enough to myself. If I'm looking at,
so there's like a little buried part of you that's like, how could anybody else think I'm attractive if I don't, or something similar to that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that doesn't discount the fact that I know, people. Yeah. I know people. People like me.
For sure.
No, I know that, people have found me attractive and have said so, and that's great. And that's where sometimes I hit up against this and then get to the question, well, why am I doing this then? Or why would I do this, if it's for someone else? Mm-hmm. There is definitely something knotty around that stuff that I haven't figured out fully how to disentangle. Mm-hmm. But, there is a very simple metric that whether we like it as a society or not, it matters, but it doesn't matter for this purpose of this argument. I would be more attractive to more people if I were slimmer.
Sure.
That's just a fact.
For sure.
That bothers me.
Yeah, definitely.
Actually, like, we've got to the point, and that's what I've been like skirting around.
Yeah, for sure.
That bothers me.
For sure. I get it.
And I don't think it's fair because, again, what are you doing to make yourself more attractive and interesting?
Yeah.
I think I've got interesting covered, but
Very.
I'm definitely interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. It's like, and you know, people can get into all sorts of things. Like bros can get very broy about. It's about self-respect, man. And how can you've got to have respect for yourself. And it's like, I can have respect for myself and still eat pizza. It's those aren't the same thing, but there is still, and I don't think it's because I'm surrendering to society's ideals of what people should be. It's just that I like pizza. Like it's not much more complicated than I like food, and I don't exercise. Well, as we've discovered, the exercise maybe is less the thing, but I like food too.
Exercise is great. There's nothing wrong with exercise. It's just not going to help you lose weight.
It's a different discussion, exactly. So yeah, there is a very real fact, and that bothers me. And sure. I don't think it's because I don't think about it in the other way around, because I absolutely do. Of course, I see, a beautiful woman, and want to take a second look.
Yeah.
And then that might open the door, and who knows, they might be a dreadful person, or they might be amazing.
Yeah.
But it's the brand, it's
sure.
it's that
first impression.
And
yep.
Yeah. And I think what you're helping me get to now is it's not simply, it is surface level, but it's not surface deep. A company, if I think about it in this way, because I think that helps me grapple with it more easily, a company, it's represented by its brand, and the brand is the thing that helps you get in. The logo and the website and all that stuff. That's the thing that gets you in the door and helps you then make the decision about what comes next. Whether whether they're aligned, whether you want to work with them, whether they're value for money, and how they operate, and all the business model and all the stuff that actually makes a company. You don't decide. You might decide, but you don't. That decision is not based completely on the brand.
Yeah, but the brand gets you in the door.
The brand gets you in the door. And I think I've had that feeling that the perception, it's all about the perception, and it's all skin deep. And it's like, actually, no, it isn't. It just is it's presenting the best face. And yeah, I don't know if there's anything, I don't know, immediately to my mind, I'm like, I don't know if there's anything wrong with that, actually. If I think about it in those terms, if I, having years of thinking about it being surface level, and maybe that comes from years of rejection, because like I was actively rejected at secondary school, from the years of sort of 11 to 16. I had a not a great time, felt very isolated, was ostracized, did not go to any school parties, all the things that you go to, which gets the roller coaster thing. All the stuff that you learn, I never learned because I was never invited to things where those things happen.
Same here.
Yeah. And so I think in order to protect myself, because I've got a very strong self-defense mechanism.
You do.
You learn, as you will know as well. I think,
sure.
You learn to build a carapace.
Yep.
And I think part of my carapace, one of the things that I know is very much a part of my carapace is a sense of intelligence. Like I value intelligence in a way that is maybe unfair sometimes, but it's what I do. And one of the biggest things that I can do to impugn someone, to, in my mind, hurt someone, is to impugn their intelligence.
Sure.
That is, by any time I want to take someone down a peg, even just in my mind, I will think of them as being stupid, because that's the way I go. Because I think I felt like a lot of the people who were unkind around me were stupid. And so that's, I think that's how that goes in. And so thinking about things on a surface level, thinking about things in that sense, those two things become enmeshed. The idea of physical attractiveness and intelligence or something along those lines, there being a false kind of unhealthy link there. Like if you value that stuff, then that means you're shallow. And it's like, that's the thing, if you only value that
Sure.
stuff,
Yeah.
then that makes you shallow. But valuing, like you said, we all do it. It's just a fact of life. And, maybe it's time that 41-year-old Mark put his big boy pants on and realized that is just a way that the world works.
Yes, we all do value the surface level. We all see that first. And that branding is important. It is my lived experience that, to take this back to a gendered conversation, in the binary, men value that brand impression way more. It does affect women. They will visually see a person and make a decision, but that factors like 20% to the 80% of men, and where in my experience, a woman can see past that way quicker. It's not as important to continue on, and it feels like with my lived experience, thinking that and hearing what you're saying, it sounds like you're lowering yourself in your mind because you think that it matters more than it does. And sure, it does matter. No, we're all agreeing with that. But maybe it's in a higher importance in your mind than it's actually in reality.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that. I tend to think quite binary, and so for me, it's just like, if it matters, it matters. If you know what I mean. And which is okay. Like I'm not a percentages guy. So I don't gamble.
Yeah, sure.
Either a thing will happen. Like for me, like, and I've had a conversation with a friend about this before. He's like, whatever about gambling, and I'm like, either a thing will happen or it won't. Like, I know you can talk to me about odds, but either a thing will happen or it won't happen.
Yeah.
So, and I think that comes from, or maybe that's why I'm a developer as part of it. It's like,
it's ones and zeros.
It's just yeah. Well, sort of. It's a weird little side jag, but like, I would occasionally have conversations with people who are less technical, and we would talk about an edge case. So that being something that doesn't happen very often, and they're trying to mitigate it and say, it doesn't happen very often. The inference being, so it's not that important to focus on. And I'm like, no. It doesn't matter if it doesn't happen often. You still have to code for the eventuality that it does happen. Because otherwise and in other people's minds, they'll go, well, if an error happens, we just say, well, it's, that's an edge case and we'll deal with it then. For me, I'm like, no, if it can happen, then we need to mitigate against it. So yeah, in my mind, I'm like, if it matters, then it matters. And that kind of thinking might, in this case, be helpful.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing that crossed my mind, not to hammer that same point home, but like, so, I was married for a long time, and then I was single, and I was on the dating market. And when I exited my marriage, I was 285 pounds and very, like, not in a good, healthy state. I had worked on myself a lot, emotionally and intellectually, somewhat. And both areas still needing much improvement, but physically, I was a wreck. I was deep in my illnesses and not knowing how to address those, having spent decades trying to fix them and having no help. And I didn't have the right guidance. I didn't have the right understanding. I've found so many more tools now, and it's amazing. But so physically, the look of me, I looked sad. I looked depressed. I was saggy. I was puffy. I was just a mess. I still got dates and interest, and that was really cool. I was surprised. I wasn't expecting the level of interest I got from the type of people. Like, I mean, like of different stripes and different like body types and different backgrounds and perspectives. And even with Margaret, like when we got together, I had lost some weight because I was at that point I was newly motivated to try and start working on myself physically. I had lost some weight. I think I was down to like 265, 270, and that wasn't an issue for her at all. And then when I proposed to her for us to get married, so it was, after we started dating, I lost some weight, and then the pandemic hit, and I gained my COVID 20 or 50 or whatever it was, and I was almost up to 300 again. When I proposed to her, I was like really big, and I was at I was wanting to investigate the illnesses and stuff, but wasn't doing that very well yet either. We were just about to start that, I think. And yeah, I was kind of I said this in my vows to her, like when I proposed and when she agreed to marry me, I was at my lowest in terms of my self-respect and my physical body shape and all that kind of thing. And so that these are the things that I'm trying to say, or have it informed my lived experience of the person on the other side can see into you better than we can sometimes. They can. I do feel like Margaret can read my thoughts sometimes, which is really great because outside of this podcast, I struggle to speak sometimes. I was like, I'm just, I nine out really hard on it. I don't want to disturb the peace. I'm just gonna, everything's fine. I'm just gonna. Oh, I should say something? Okay.
Keep it all inside. When it comes to the apps,
yeah,
it sounds so passive aggressive, and I don't mean it to. I am delighted that was your experience.
Mm-hmm.
Could not be further from my experience.
we've got different pools. We've got different.
Yeah, exactly. But that really speaks to you had. We've talked before, and I was talking today with a couple of people about seeing to believe.
Yeah.
And you saw to believe.
Yeah.
Because you got enough nudges to go, oh, okay, well, someone sees enough in me that is maybe worth investigating, and maybe there is something I can see in myself. And I'm not suggesting that I don't see anything in myself. That's not what I mean. Yeah. But yeah, like I'm pretty much like I joked, I think on the roller coaster episode about having completed Bumble.
Right. Yeah.
And like I think I probably do better in person than I do on the apps.
Yeah.
I don't, and I it's so weird, like with a lot of things. And I've had this as a kid, like I love the internet. I don't think I communicate well on the internet. I don't think I come across the way I think I'm coming across.
Interesting.
It's weird. Like I remember getting like, and I'm saying this with a laugh because I don't want it to be like a woe is me story. I just think it's funny and interesting. I remember being in a web forum for bare naked ladies. I can't remember if it was the official one, but it was the biggest one at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was me and my friend Lizzie, and we were both in there. And Lizzie was like razzing people about rugby and how rugby's a real sport and American football is nonsense, and she's just absolutely kicking it up a storm, and they're loving it. And so she's a woman on the internet, so
Mm-hmm.
And I got booted off the forum. Oh, not the forum, it was a chat room, and I got booted off the chat room. And then Lizzie told me on MSN Messenger that people were going to try and figure out how to what do they call it? Swiss cheese my firewall.
Whoa.
Which I just think meant they were going to try and figure out how to, hack my computer. Yeah. I don't know what I did. I don't think I went in there trying to actually anyone, or like, I'm pretty sure I was just trying to have a conversation.
Yeah.
And I don't know what I did, but I feel like I do that a lot. I feel like I go in to spaces and be me and then go, no, that's not what we're looking for here.
Yeah.
And I think, I take some of that, that with me. And like when it comes to like, I will try and pick the right photos and the right profile description and answer all the different questions in cute and fun ways and ways that I think I would enjoy if I was reading them and all that stuff. And it's nothing. Yeah. And I remember in 2019 having a conversation with, I don't think it was anyone I've met subsequently. I think it was someone I met one night who was a friend of a friend. And we were talking about online dating. And they were something along the lines of, you look like a generic online dating guy, something like that. And I'm like, I had the shorter, the sort of buzz cropped hair at that point, and the beard, and which is why one of the reasons I've grown out my hair, because I don't want to look like I have an Xbox. Like, I don't want to look like I have a Twitch channel.
Yeah.
Because I do, like, if I go for the buzz cut, I look like someone who's got a Twitch channel and will actually you about how Zelda is better than whatever, you know. And so I try to soften that look a little bit. But yeah, like, and it's just like another little coin goes into the machine where you just go, okay, that's another one for that column of like, yeah, I guess this isn't my forte. Sure. Whereas, there's been times, and I've royally fucked it up sometimes. I mean, I don't know if I've ever told you this story because it happened before we met. But in 2015, so silly. In 2015, I was at a Frank Turner concert, and I was with my boss and his wife, and it was a great gig. Really enjoyed it. Really raucous. I was shouting, screaming away with some of the songs, and it was great. And as we're leaving, this woman comes up to me, shorter woman, little glasses, and she's cute and kind of nerdy as fuck. Like we end up talking about Discworld or something. I might even have had a Discworld t-shirt on or something. And we just have this nerdy conversation. And I'm too embarrassed to tell you how much I fumbled the ball. What I know is that what I needed to do is to have said, what are you doing now? What are you doing for the rest of the night? That would have been a great question to ask. What are you doing for the rest of the night? I'm heading home to my boyfriend. Cool. Bye. That was a lovely night. What are you doing for the rest of the night? Nothing. Would you like to grab a drink? There we go. That might have been the thing. What are you doing tonight? I've got to do something else, but if you fancy grabbing a drink at another day, let's exchange numbers. I fumble. I'm too embarrassed. It's not that bad, but I'm just embarrassed by how I fumbled the ball. And the interaction ended. Yeah. And I went in, because like in my head, and it's the autistic side of me, the spectrum-y, neurospicy part of my brain. I think the reason I did it the way I did it was because in my mind, I'm like, the thing that has been decided is that you are going in a taxi with your boss and his wife and you're going to get dropped off. I didn't compute how the night might be different. Sure. I didn't think about my own agency to make the night different. I was like, no, that's what we're doing. And it will be confusing or a problem. Otherwise, I relate so hard. I didn't think about that. I was thinking maybe about other people or whatever.
It doesn't even occur to me to ask, like, or to interject my thoughts or like to kind of guide the evening or anything like that. Like I'm here to follow along. I'm happy to be along for the ride, like kind of like,
I'm not the main character
for sure
this story. Exactly. So I kind of wasn't equipped. Whereas like, I mean, yes, 2024 Mark can go, God, that was 9 years ago. Jesus Christ. Anyway, 2024 Mark can go, all right, dude, well, what you do is you ask that question, and if she says I've got nothing on, we go one way, and maybe I collar the people I'm taking a ride with and say, hey, listen, I'm going to take care of myself. You guys have a good night. Or there is some confusion for 5 minutes, and I say, hang on a minute, new lady that I've just met, let me text my boss and let him know because he might be waiting for me. Done. You know, like there's all these ways that problem can be sorted, and it's not even a problem. What I ended up doing is a couple of days later, because I was so, because it was obvious. That was the problem, because again, I think I was still in a stage then where I was in this mind of like, no, it can't possibly be that this woman has just out of nowhere started having a conversation with me. It must be because of it can't be. She was just being nice, or she was just making conversation. Those things might have been true.
Sure.
And there's so much that, like when we do think about gendering, there is so, and you've heard me do this a lot, where I second guess myself halfway through a sentence and like want to mitigate and want to shield and all that kind of stuff. And so there is, and I don't blame history for this. I don't blame feminist movements for this at all, because it's not about me. But there is an aspect that I've internalized, the toxic story of men and certain nerdy men not being able to square the fact that someone might just have been making pleasant conversation with you. And so I take that with me and I go, this is also in an era where not that long ago, I think, in fact, I think that year, some nerds in my actual like space of what I do, like people who use the same programming language, who go to similar conferences to me, got fired, got booted out of a conference because someone in front of them heard making jokes that she found offensive. There's a whole boatload of stuff in there. And it was actually in John Ronson's book, Have You Been Publicly Shamed? It actually made it, that this story made it into the book. And so there's all this shit that in 2014, 2015 is swirling around in my brain as well. Like, must not be a toxic male. And I also, carrying self-belief of being a toxic male as well, not being able to simply go, have you got any plans for the night? Like, so much was pent up and so much, it is bullshit that I've inherited, that is also not inherited, but like I've internalized and made about me, which is not about me. It's like, it's fucking, wow.
Yeah, dude. All right, I've got two things. One, super quick. I wasn't with my thing before. I wasn't really thinking about the apps, but since you brought it up,
sure.
Not in defense of apps, because the apps suck, but there is a reason. And I know, like you were saying that the people on Hinge in your area it's different, and like I totally get that. But the reason why I loved Hinge so much versus the rest, like the rest of them, you just swipe. And there's no, like, if you match, then you can say something. And that's such a barrier. There's such a block there. You have to both visibly be interested, and that sucks. With Hinge, I loved Hinge because you have to write these little blurbs about yourself. You answer questions and you post photos. And then the way that you swipe is to actually comment on one of those things, either a photo or something somebody said. And like what worked with Margaret and me is that she said, the way to win my heart is ... give me your uneaten pickles. It wasn't exactly that. That's a misquote, but it's something to that effect. And I replied, "Oh, have you tried Bubbies? They're my favorite brand. They're so delicious." Something like that. And it sparked a silly conversation about pickles. And then so it was, there's nothing. It wasn't about physicality. It wasn't about a bunch of stuff. And then it really didn't like matter, I think, to either of us. I don't think that we really, either of us, kind of analyzed the photos of each other. Like I saw that she had a photo with a cat in it, which was really made me happy. But otherwise, the photos didn't really say much, and the photos didn't even look super like her. When I saw her in person, it was like a whole different experience. So, not to defend apps, but just like,
no, you make a very good point as well, a much larger point.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm interrupting you to agree with you.
Perfect.
Sorry.
No, that's I love that kind of interruption. Shit. Okay. What was my other thing? Oh,
me now. Yeah, go for it.
My other thing. So what are you going to do about it? is the point I'm going to get to.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. I mean, if you already know, if I don't need the long explanation, then go ahead.
I think I maybe did, because this has come up in business as well. This has actually come up with my business coach. And it is the way I'm thinking about it. And if I frame it back to that event, the Frank Turner gig, it's actually stop thinking 50, like I can't play chess. But if I could, I'd be the sort who would be planning several moves ahead. I don't have that kind of brain. But in defense of myself and in however else I work, I'm thinking 20 steps ahead. In any conversation, I'm thinking about this is why I second guess myself, because I'm already thinking about the objection. Even before I've actually framed the thought out loud, I'm already thinking of the objection, and I'm gainsaying what I'm about to say before I've even finished saying it. The simple, and simple thing's not always easy, but the simple thing is to just ask yourself, what's the next thing that needs to happen? Or what is the next thing that needs to be known? In a business context, my modus operandi for a long time has been to give lots of context. So this is the stuff that I offer, and I have all these things and all these amazing packages, and you can act now, and blah, blah, blah. And that's all fine. But what you actually just need to do, and it is exactly the same in dating, is just what's the next thing. And your thing about the pickles is exactly redolent would be the wrong word, but it's exactly that. It is just that's the natural next step. Is she said something about pickles, you had a thing to say about pickles. You don't then need to go, oh, by the way, I'm an amazing catch and you should know all these things about me. It's like, what's the next thing? It's about pickles, and then the conversation goes back and forth. It's the same with work. It's just, do you want to have would a conversation about this thing be helpful? That's all you need to say. Would a conversation about something to do with your podcast, would that be helpful at this point? Or I've been making pitches to go and speak at various with various associations and organizations. And my pitch is very short. And it is basically something along the lines of, are your members curious about podcasts? Because if they're not, then we can cut the conversation dead right there, and it's fine. They go, not really. And you go, cool, no worries. If they are, you go, okay, cool. Do you want to have a chat? Would a chat be useful? And that's all that needs to happen. What you don't need to do is then say, well, I have this service here and I've got this.
They don't care.
It's too much. And my whole thing when it's come to dating is I have been, I won't say I can't, I have been unable, or I found it very difficult to just go what's the next bit of the conversation? They don't need to know the whole shocking backstory of Mark. They don't need to know the whole history
either. They want it to be a well planned out novel where you get little trickles of it throughout. They don't want to dump. I found that the hard way multiple times.
They want it to be light.
I think I did earlier on
until it's ready for it not to be light. And I love that as a novel. It's a lovely way of Let's let us in gently.
Yeah, a mistake I made early on with Margaret was I kind of info dumped on her all of my faults.
Listen, you should know.
Yeah, I was like, I don't have any teeth. These are dentures. My hair is thinning. I've got this problem and that thing, and all these issues, and I'm struggling with this. And she was like, "Are you breaking up with me? What is going on?" And I was like, "Oh no, I just wanted you to be aware of I don't know. I feel bad about myself. That's all." And so,
well, can I ask what was her response to that? When you said no, I was just telling you.
Sadness, distance. I don't remember her exact kind of words or anything, but it was. I think it was over text or something like that. And I just remember her kind of being like, "Okay, I don't really know what's going on here. Like I'm a bit confused now. Like I feel pushed away, that kind of reaction. And so then I had to kind of,
yeah, and of
like,
course
I had to do some repair
yeah.
work on that, because I was like, okay, yeah, shit, that was too much. I came on too strong. Another fault of mine. You know.
Oh, another reason
I came on too strong and too weak at the same time. Well, that's a talent. I'm talented, and that's how I rebuilt my self-esteem. I was like, hey, I'm talented. No.
I beta-mailed myself so hard.
Yeah. And that's not what she was looking for. This reminds me of a little thing. So I've been slowly, bit by bit, taking more notes for God Mode. I totally have put aside my worthy goal of August 2024. That part of the worthy goal went away as soon as the lawsuit kind of monopolized my time. And then I had to go through some self-discovery and stuff. But I've been back into it, and you just reminded me of a note. And I just kind of want to read it. I want to share with you a bit of my writing. Don't ask yourself, quote, can I do X goal, end quote, because you'll try and fail and get discouraged. Have a goal you're striving for, then ask yourself, what can I do right now? How much of this goal can I achieve today? It doesn't matter how much you can do now. Take stock of where you are, because there is a path to where you want to be, and you'll light that path one day at a time. And as always, correct me if I'm wrong.
Fuck, I sort of wasn't ready for it.
Oh, it doesn't have to. We can cut that bit till later. Go for it.
Wow. That is... I like that a lot.
Yeah, I felt myself like saying like, oh, can I do this thing? And then I'm going to try to do this. I want to do this thing and try it and not do it. And I'm like, fuck, I can't do it. But everybody sucks the first time they try something. Like they don't have the skills yet.
Yeah.
You have to keep trying and failing to meet the main goal. You have to keep working at it and get stronger. And like, I can't bench 250 pounds.
So why try?
Yeah, but I can do one push-up now, and that's like 200 pounds. So I'm nearly there. Like, hell yeah. And that took, fucking 3 or 4 months ago when I tried to do a single push-up, couldn't do it. I could do one from my knees. I could do a couple from my knees. I couldn't do any from my feet. And now I can do like 1.5 from my feet, just because I've been trying and practicing every day. And I in defense of myself, I do push-ups in a really hard way. I go super slow. It takes 10 seconds up and 10 seconds down. It's brutally hard. Like if I was just to pump through them, I could do a few. But anyways, that's just me trying to brag.
All right, Brad.
But yeah, so it just occurred to me, and I feel like that's an important thing to always keep in mind, is that we.
Oh, I really like that, and I applaud it. I think what has stopped me. So this isn't me sort of saying this is why it doesn't apply to me. I think where I have stopped myself in allowing that to come through is. The only way I can think to put it is a sense of running out of time, but there's definitely an impatience and something about if it takes so long to achieve a particular goal, then I will have less time at the end to enjoy the fruits of that goal, which is a strange way of thinking because it's sort of saying, well, why enjoy the fruits at all? Because the alternative is you don't get that goal. You don't get any time enjoying that. If you keep trying and failing because you have in it this idea that you've got to smash the goal so that you get. I'm trying to find a metaphor that I can't find one, but like trying to smash the goal so that you can spend as much time of your life. And I wonder actually how much of that is about me. spicy, is about self-forgiveness and forgiving the time that was spent not in pursuit of that goal or in some ways actively against that goal, and being okay to say that time was spent, and we've had similar conversations before, to, like, that time was spent the way it was spent. That you made the decisions based on who you were and what you were. Like, I kind of want to say, I don't know if this is true, but I kind of want to say, in a sense, you always made the right decision because you made it based on what you knew to be true at the time.
And hence why there is no free will.
Yeah. What your we might have to put a pin in that one.
Yeah, that's a big topic.
I kind of rolled past that because I was like, oh no, I'm not touching that one. Like, in a sense of, like, you can only make decisions based on the data you have. If the data's faulty, that's not
right.
You still can only make the decision that's based on the data that you've got, and often that data is faulty, but it doesn't make the decision wrong. And I like that view.
Yes, very, very much.
I might add that to my list of things that I don't know are true, but I'd like to believe.
Yeah.
I heard someone today just talk about a mycelium network, and I was like, yes, come on, bring it in. More people. Just like in a social situation, like talking about how things are mimetic, and I was like, yes, mycelium network. Yes. I'm charged up, actually, by that sense that the time was not wasted. The time was spent, and you made the decision based on the data that you had. To that point, then that's why there is sort of no free will. I see what you mean there. And so, what is there to mourn? What is there to grieve?
Yep.
It's all in pursuit of then trying to get to this goal and spend as much time in that goal as in the reward, if you like, of that goal, but also, and this has been key for me, not being miserable while you do it.
Yeah.
Like, the pursuit of that goal should not make you miserable, because that's is also time that is equally spent. That is the journey. And also, there is a mistake in thinking that once you've reached the goal, that's the end of the book.
Right.
It's like, like there's a new goal. New goals will emerge. New things. You will always be striving for something. My brother has joked that, like, I don't need any more friends. Like, I can, in a good and positive way, he's like, I can tell people what I think. He's not a jerk. He's just like, he doesn't need to take bullshit, because he's got everything. He's got the EQ of his life set just the way he likes it, and it doesn't need fucking with. But he still pursues goals for himself because of course he does, because he still strives for stuff. So he is, objectively, you could say, that he's got the wife and the kids and the home, and it's all lovely. And, like, I look at that life and I go, that's just great, and I love it. And there's sweetness and there's bitterness, or not bitterness, there's sourness, there's all that stuff that should be in a life, but it's not over. It's not the end of the story. There is no happily ever after. There are still challenges. He's got kids to raise. He's got his own well-being that he's thinking about. There will be parents to take care of. There will be so many more challenges that will come. And the idea that in attainment of a goal, you reach this state that, like, cool, I'm done now, does not happen. And that's part of the mistake that I've been carrying with myself, is thinking that once I reach that goal, then everything will be great and fine. And it will be different, is what it will be.
Absolutely.
That bit might be cool, but there will be new challenges. There will be, I will find a way to have a relationship and make it a disaster, make it something that I can fret about and worry about, and and be stressed about, and it could be a whole new thing.
Welcome to relationships.
A relationship that's going on by any other metric that's going really well. I can find a way for that to be terrifying. Like, of course.
Everybody can. Everybody does. That's the nature of relationships.
So absolutely. That's the nature of
Yeah.
everything. Everything is everything. And so the goal. So it's the goal for now. It's the current goal. It's this one, and then there will be a new one, and none of the time you spend is wasted. For one thing, it all goes back into the mycelium network, and that's all good. That's all experiences that we're collecting. But for yourself, I'm kind of just sitting with that, and I'm just rolling it around, and it's just lovely. And
Okay, so I love how you're chewing on a lot here, and not to throw too much on there, but
you did ask me the question earlier.
What are you going to do about it? And what I meant was, or where my thought was going was, what are you going to do about it in terms of the stories that you tell yourself? At least, as I've stated, in my view, it looks like you hold yourself back more than maybe anything else is being holding you back, because you're working on yourself. You're dedicated to a new lifestyle pattern. You're a super capable guy. And
thank you. I'm also not doing it wholesale. Like I'm still using my outlets where I need them, because like everyone has to have an outlet. Like everybody's got to have some kind of outlet, and so I'm allowing for an escape valve. But yes, definitely working towards a thing.
I want to come back to that.
I think
maybe not today, but I want to come back to that. I want to maybe have a whole episode on talking about that, escape valves and needing them.
Okay, that's fine. We'll table that for another moment. I am taking away, and what I think I'm going to try. What I'm going to do is remember. This is going to sound all whatever, but I'm going to stop doing that for a start. Stop third guessing myself, and then that's the first thing I'm going to do. And then the second thing I'm going to do is remain more in the moment and think about what's just the next one thing. Don't think about the thing that comes after the thing. Yeah. Save that for your coding work, because that's helpful.
Yes.
But it's not helpful for how... And that's helpful because systems are somewhat predictable.
Mm-hmm.
And while humans are systems, they are made up of systems, they are not predictable by observers, because we can't know how that system works. I can know how a computer system works. I can know that if I type this bit of code in, that'll work. If I type this bit of code in, that won't work, because I can see the system. You can't see the system of another human being.
And there's systems layered on systems, on systems, and influenced by bigger outside systems that you weren't privy to. And
some are functional, some are dysfunctional.
For sure.
Many are dysfunctional.
Yeah.
So I can't predict. And this has got me in trouble before. Like I in the story that I was telling, which I will stop telling, because it's that person, for one thing, deserves for me to not keep telling that story. Not that she needs forgiveness, because there's nothing to forgive, genuinely, but also just leave it alone. But to make a quick point on that, I remember an email exchange in which I think she actually expressed that she was angry that I'd made an inference about why she came to, why we went to London and did something. Like, I'd, made this faulty prediction about why, or this faulty assumption about why she came to London with me. And again, it's because, stop doing that. Like, you can't look into that system. You don't know. All you can do is present yourself. And just load one line of code in at a time. Don't try and dump the whole thing in because you don't know how the system's going to react.
Yeah.
One final quick thing about this is I remember there used to be it's funny, I think apt story. They used to have these magazines, computer magazines, where they would give you code printed on the page, and you were expected to type that code in to make a game.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I mean, I know I wasn't doing it right anyway, but that doesn't matter. The point was, I spent the whole God, this is so fucking apt. I spent the whole time looking at the page and at my keyboard, typing what I saw and not looking at the computer, typing, hitting enter, next line, typing, hitting enter, next line. And then like run, and then looking over to the computer and going, well, that didn't work. And it was dozens of lines of code. And at some point, there was an error, a syntax error, because of course there was. Because you're looking at a printed page, your eyesight's bad, and you're not looking at the screen to see if you've made any errors. So, fucking of course, it didn't work. And that has been my approach to life in entirety. Is reading the whole page and just going, and then going, oh, that didn't seem to work.
That didn't work. Wait, why?
I wonder if there was a fundamental error that I made, like an assumption that I made at some point that had I paused, I might have been able to correct.
Yep. Pausing and looking around, staying in the moment, being aware, being present.